The information that we're about to share is being shared out of love and from personal experience. We do not share this to incite any upheaval or discord in society. As you will find, the data in this material is shared for educational purposes and for the purpose of expanding the awareness of the listener. Greetings, we are Trace Scorch, and we've come with what we said we would bring good news. Isn't it interesting the situations happening in our society at this moment? And perhaps to get you to ask a question, where are we heading to? Where's all this going to? What's going to be the end result of all this our social engagement? Perhaps it being down spiral or negative or positive as you will see. Well, it all lies in our interpretation of our reality. Currently you see our society is currently material based. People are just focused on things, item, materialism, and it's not giving room for our spiritual aspect to flourish. We have a society based where the one with the most, the one who's accumulated the most things, the most material, turns out becoming leader. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it funny how a group of people came to invade a certain society, and after pillaging that society and accumulating the gold and extorting that society, they proclaim themselves as royalty. And this society who are the victims of this extortion are looking at those who extort their properties from them as royals. In other words, the only reason that you are giving value or worshiping or taking authority from this certain set of individual is because they have accumulated a lot of material things. Perhaps you call that wealth. It can translate as money to you or gold, but all these items are things. And we as biological divine instrument, we are not material based. As some would say, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So isn't it interesting how we've given all our value and this attention to those who have accumulated more things than those who have actually accumulated a sense of divinity, intelligence, and things that are non-local per se. Because if you think about it, we have a archetype people worship. You have this amazing, magnificent being, some you call Jesus, and the name varies from different society. And the reason you're worshiping the one you call Jesus is not because he accumulated too many things. Is by his divinity, his divine nature, his attention to his innate spiritual principles. Yes, if you will. And his healing, when he was healing people, he wasn't charging money. And so the what that will turn on our society is kind of like, unless something is monetized, the humans don't see the value of it. It's kind of like, if you do not have too many followers, it's like, what are you saying? If you don't have all this amount of money or accumulated items, it's like nobody wants to listen to what you say unless you pack all these vehicles, put all this gold, all this paper. You see? And this isn't giving room for our spiritual nature to flourish to the point that where someone like us is sharing our spiritual divine experience, most people could just look at it like, what is he saying? But this is the most ultimate satisfaction of the human being. There's absolutely nothing in this universe that will satisfy you outside your divine inheritance, discovering your divinity. In other words, you can have all the money. Even Will Smith was saying this recently, how he wished everyone could actually get so much money so they really realize that it is not this money or these items that actually give you fulfillment. And that's the fact. It is often those who haven't seen a lot of money that think that they will be happy when they get a lot of it. But the real ultimate satisfaction comes from recognizing our divinity. You see, what you call soul is not something that you have, it is what you are. And what you call soul, it is literally what you're calling God. In every essence, it is God. What you call God is not outside, it's not this archetype deity that is out here taking a pen and paper and judging humans for their actions, that perhaps if you do not act according to its will, then you put you in the pit of fire. That mindset is so archaic and so dysfunctional. Now, until humans actually start seeing how dysfunctional it is, they will give themselves the opportunity to perhaps welcome a more expanded state of awareness. Because how do you think that the whole universe is designed and there is this deity? Because humans have actually attributed this their father figure relationship with what they call God, or the relationship you have with your boss. You feel like unless you're meeting certain goals, then you wouldn't get certain reward. But that's just based on human on relationship with their parents or with their employer. It has nothing to do with what you call God. You see, you are an extension of what you call God. Your soul is what you are. Your body is inside your soul. Your soul is not inside the body, and you're not this meat, bones and meat and blood automation. Like humans have limited themselves so much that it's so difficult to actually explain the magnificence of what it is to be human, especially what it is to be human in this time. A few 50 years ago, people didn't have access to what you call in the internet. This means of communication did not exist. And you can't explain to someone 50 years ago that, oh, there's this medium of communication where you have this thing called the internet. They'll be looking at you like, what are you saying? But we have access to the internet. Even hot shower. People weren't taking hot shower 50 years ago. Now you can just, on one tap of a button, you can get access to hot water and cold water. We have so many things we should be grateful for, but humans have kind of limited their sense of satisfaction to accumulated numbers. People don't think you're successful unless you have this amount of numbers. Eh? And without actually understanding the core value of our humanity, we've kind of made ourselves so small that you find that dysfunctional people who have so much about these numbers are controlling the majority. Take a place like Africa. You have this continent filled with abundant wealth, but the indigenes, the citizens of this continent, are 90% of them are poor. Isn't that interesting? And you have nations that don't have all this abundant wealth on their platonic, and they are the ones accumulating all this wealth and giving authority to this other group of people because they don't seem to have all these items. Meanwhile, they're standing on a continent that is rich with gold, uranium, platinum, you name it. Now, the reason why Africa has actually found themselves in that chokehold is because they have limited their understanding of what they are to what they can accumulate. They have given their power to things that are outside them, outside their own worthiness of their own definition. You know, the African man is waiting for someone, a foreigner, to tell them the value of the things in their country. Do you know, once Africa wake up, which we are predicting, and it's 100% fact, that Africa will become a superpower in our lifetime. I mean, people will wonder, like, how's that going to happen? I guarantee you, in our lifetime, everyone Gen Z, you're born from the 80s, 1980s, wherever you are, if you're alive at this moment, you'll be alive to witness Africa become a superpower. And you can bet on this. And what is going to change is our awareness of ourselves, you see. What we find out now is that democracy isn't really working for Africans because we find out that people are often united in their dysfunction, or united in division, or united in hate, as opposed to being united in truth. You see a group of tribe who don't like a certain group of tribe, then they'll accumulate their support to their own tribe because they don't like the other tribe. Not because the other tribe is coming with competence, with information, with integrity, they're not going to support that integrity because it's coming from a tribe contrary to their own. Now, democracy, the void in that is because people will not vote for the one who is more competent. Instead, they will vote for someone that they are in agreement with on their own tribe. So democracy really isn't working for Africa because we're so divided. Even despite most people being the same skin color, we have negated our inheritance to be like we've limited ourselves to the point of skin color. And the things that are using to divide Africans, we're speaking of Africans specifically because we're heading to the magnificence of what you call melanin. Now, we've actually attributed our usefulness as Africans to skin color and based on the interpretation of foreigners giving us our quote-unquote worthiness. Now, the same thing people are using to downgrade Africa and say your skin is black is actually our most powerful attribute to property. And that's not to say that melanin is only limited to people with black skin. People with black eyes, black hair, you have melanin. But the surplus of the melanin is what's showing in our skin. And melanin is a conductor of electricity. And humans actually thinking that they're these biological robots don't understand that we're electromagnetic, ecstatic beings. And when you understand the meaning of that, you realize that what you call melanin is not just there for decoration. Some people look on the sky and they see the sun and think it's just for drying clothes or for charging your solar energy. There's so much more to our inheritance and our personality and our being that escapes the mind of most people because we're limiting our understanding of ourselves based on what those who conquered the people prior to us arriving here believed. If you believe in iPhone, you always see God as this judgmental figure We have a society based on materialism and not love. People talk about how powerful their God is, but not how loving their God is. Isn't that interesting? Because when you realize that if we are going to measure the worthiness of what we call our God, or it's an imaginary friend, as one with unconditional love, as opposed to unlimited power, you realize that you can start seeing the gap in our religion. That is this religion based on love? Or is this religion based on conquering or giving access to one party to conquer the other party? A lot of things in the literature book are misconstrued, misinterpreted. There's a part where they say, blessed are those weak in spirit. We never said that. We never said that. Where you can find that in your religious doctrine saying, blessed are those weak in spirits. How can someone be so blessed that they are weak in spirit? You see, there's a conundrum here. It's contradicting. And people just go ahead with it now, latently, subconsciously, limiting their spiritual prowess because it's written in a literature book, an ancient literature book, that blessed are those who are poor in spirit. But we never said that. And now we've come to the point where there are different factions of religion telling you this, telling you that, but no one is actually telling you how magnificent you are, how beautiful it is, that the design that we call human is so perfect. And we would have known this except from personal experience. We shared this before. I woke up one day as what you call God. Period. There's no word else to explain this. And in that awakening, it activated what you call the third eye, which is the first eye. Your pineal gland is this. Right now, it feels like a magnet in the forehead. And when we go into meditation, it has this push and pull effect going on in the middle of the forehead. It's happening right now. We can activate it if we want to. And what we also noticed is we saw something like a golden spiral. It's kind of like a fluid. It's almost like water, but it's moving from the forehead. Literally a golden spiral. I don't read this anywhere. I kid you not. This is personal experience. I wasn't on any substance. I just woke up one morning and there I arrived. Omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. It's all powerful, all present. It felt like being in the present moment. You think you're in the present moment, you think you are human, but you're something much more. And it felt like we're connected to everything that exists beyond this plane of existence, beyond this dimension. There's just this sense of oneness and ecstasy. You see, the highest form of excitement most humans have is when they're having sex. And you have this orgasm and it's wow. But the sense of being one with everything is like 10 gazillion orgasm happening right now, and you're in the presence with this all-knowing aspect of your mind, and everything is perfect and you know everything. Now imagine waking up to that experience and then realizing that it's because of what you are, not because of what you have. It changes the whole scope. And why we're sharing this is we saw an article by someone who was reading this Sanskrit verdict, and the approach is coming about while he's reading or writing this article is about how the Elohim are some extraterrestrial beings who are enslaving African humans and using them to mine and using them with this mind meld machine. And he has point in what he said, but something caught my attention. It mentioned in Sanskrit, it was written, so the translation from Sanskrit was a brain light fluid, brain illumination fluid. And his own interpretation of this is because he knows his brain doesn't have any light or like fluid, whatever. He thought about it as light as in weights, which can have some validity in it. But when we read that, we knew exactly what they were saying due to our profound experience. Now, he interpreting it as light as weights, like something not being heavy, kind of makes sense to him from his own perspective. But from our perspective, we knew it meant literally a light fluid that comes out of the brain, because we saw this. And it started making sense that many things that was written in the ancient time that we think are metaphoric might have been literally. And the things that we think are literal might be metaphoric, but we didn't understand the translation that it was written in. It wasn't written in English. So understanding how things can be lost in translation, it gives you this awareness to be patient with what you're reading, and supposed to just looking at things from Malaysian literature book and then acting aggressively towards it. A lot of things are shared with love. A lot of things are shared to understand the nature of our humanity. There are people who are in the religious aspect who think such a thing as astral projection is evil. Now, isn't that interesting? Do you think that what you call God will design this human being, this magnificent being, and give them the ability to be in multiple places at once in what you call dream, or be able to bilocate, or be able to remote view, and all these things, and you think it's evil? That why will all this almighty, benevolent being you call God have something of a property of human consciousness, and then it be evil? Isn't that interesting? It all falls to our interpretation of our environment. You see, God never changes. The ultimate magnificence, omniferous, omnipotent, ecstatic, infinite intelligence, it never changes. But human's interpretation, human relationship to what you call God changes over time. 1,000 years ago, no, perhaps 10,000 years ago, some people probably thought God was a fish because fish was so delicious. Perhaps 5,000 years ago, people thought God was the sun because of the encompassing power of the sun. They could just look for anything around them and give attribute or personalize it or personify it as a deity. There are those who worshipped water. There are those who worship stone. The list goes on. But you see, what you call God is everything and everywhere. The ultimate satisfaction on the ultimate designer and the infinite intelligent creativity of our consciousness. It's what you call God. It's not the man somewhere in the sky judging you for your actions. It's not your government. And talking about government, your government is supposed to be an institution that is designed to make the life and the livelihood of the citizens much easier, not to complicate it. And somehow humans have gotten this because of the limitation of ourselves as our society entails. We kind of limit our understanding of ourselves to the point that structures outside humans are governing them in a way that's why controlling people, enslaving people. You have an institution you call government. It is designed to make life easier, more profitable, and more enjoyable for the citizens. It's not designed to just tax you and make life horrible and lock you up when you're out of ignorance and just do all these whole low consciousness things. It's not designed that way. But over time, after wars and pillages, and now humans have actually accumulated all these low consciousness shenanigans, somehow humans have accepted the way they are being treated. Like this is normal. None of it is normal. You're not designed to be worshipping a deity outside you that's going to punish you for not acting as it pleases. You're not designed to actually just work hard and pay tax all the days of your life and then just go be buried in a shallow grave. That is not the human design. We're put on this planet to discover our divinity, and the result of that is experiencing ultimate ecstasy every day. Your natural state of being must be ecstatic. And if it isn't, it means that you are recalibrating your consciousness. You're working with your puzzle in order to gain this your ecstatic momentum, and which is going to eventually happen when you start becoming open to the potential or the possibility that this is possible. But often, most people don't even believe that they are worthy of anything magnificent. They've accepted this caricature of reality. So kind of like a caterpillar that doesn't think it's ever going to become a butterfly. But you're designed to metamorph into what you call God. And that's the beauty of our human story. And instead of us, attributing all our attention and value to those who have accumulated the most things, I think it's time that we start paying attention and giving value to those who have accumulated more intelligence, more creativity, more divinity, omnipotence. These things are the things that are of true value. Because those who have accumulated too many material things are not living the ultimate, satisfactory, ecstatic, intelligent life that you don't even know is possible. Because what happens after you've accumulated all this whole material wealth? What happens then? All the whole money, all the whole cars, all the whole houses, you can only be in one at a time. So what happens next? There are people who are billionaires who still unalive themselves. Just to let you know that the ultimate satisfaction cannot be found in anything material. So do not give your power away to those who have accumulated these material things, because the other way for them to accumulate this material thing is by extorting it, because you don't need that much. In order for someone to have 1,000 tons of gold, it means that they are extorting from another country, and perhaps making a whole continent go poor and getting children to do child slavery labor in order for them to accumulate all that 1 million tons of gold, because you really don't need that much. So it's time that we start recalibrating what we're giving value to and paying attention to, instead of just giving your power away to those who've accumulated things. Try discovering what you are, because the accumulation of material wealth is not going to translate to omnipotence, or is not going to open door for you to channel in your magnificence, the innate intelligence within each and every one of us. We all have a pineal gland, but how many people have it active? Once upon a time, those you call kings, who are royals, were those who have an active third eye or a pineal gland, and they wore a crown because it amplifies their frequency. That's why it is made of gold and it has crystals around it. But currently, humans just see it as aesthetics. It's just another item, a regalia, just to show that they are more superior than the rest of the people. But once upon a time, those who were royal were given most of the hard work of their society for them to think things through, for them to come up with solutions that most people won't be able to do. You imagine a society came together and built a mega structure, something you call the pyramid, and it's designed for the kings to go in there to meditate and then astral project their consciousness to other realms so they can accumulate or embody more knowledge and gather information and then bring back to that society. That's why they built what you call the pyramids. Look at that mega structure and ask yourself currently, can humans come together to build a mega structure designed for the sole purpose of gathering information from other dimension? That sounds crazy, as some will say, in current day reality. But you can build things that can extort other continents and countries and have children go through different struggles just to accumulate this gold or these natural resources for different corporations to then acclaim themselves as the most powerful. That makes sense to you currently. But, astral projecting, it's evil. Becoming one with all things and actually discovering that you are actually an extension of what you call God, or discovering that you are what you call God. That's bullocks to people in the current day reality. But what we're telling you is that we're getting to a point where that is going to be the norm and not the exception. So you need to start giving yourself room for the things that you do not expect. Just how men 400 years ago didn't know about the internet. What's coming is something that no one ever expected. It's something that you didn't see coming, and there are no words for currently. And it's not something that's going to come outside humans. It's something that's going to come from within. It's an understanding of our innate nature. And it's something that's going to happen to each and every one on this planet eventually, concurrently. And that's what we're teaching. My younger brother once told me how I should, simplify the message you want to share and just share it. It's a whole lot of information, and I thought to myself some few months ago that the only way or the easiest way to share this information will be to show it. Now, all we're talking about being encompassing with this divine energy, being entangled with divinity, becoming one with everything, it all sounds like it's fiction, but it's our reality. It's from personal experience. I didn't read any of this in a book, but from our experience until today, I still have the evidence of this currently happening. So the easiest way to do this would be to show people. When it happened, I wasn't thinking about carrying a phone to film myself or film this. I was in ecstatic existing. I was so beyond happy, beyond words, and I was just amazed. It's this aha moment that it dazed, and I the last thing on my mind was to get a phone, and this happened 20, 2007, 2008, thereabouts. Strange, right? And let me simplify it, because another aspect of this, because that might be the ultimate experience for anyone who wants to experience that divinity. Literally, you see the golden spiral, you're in full ecstasy, you know everything, you're connected to all that is, you know why you're here, you just know your place automatically. It's not something you have to read, it's just like that. And to minimize an experience that closer to that, imagine waking up and not having access to any negative thoughts. This also happened sometime, I don't remember, 2018 thereabouts. Sometime in meditation, I came out of meditation and I can't think of any negative thoughts. None. I literally sat down trying to think of something negative, and it was difficult, really difficult. And then that's the issue because we've lived in this low consciousness too long. We start thinking there's something wrong. Imagine that not being able to have any negative thought, and you think that there's something wrong. And that was a shocker. And this happened to me. About people, right? So it started becoming clear to you that the way we're living is designed to actually keep humans from discovering what they truly are. And if there's someone benefiting from this, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? And perhaps a few thousand years ago, someone did something to use humans to achieve this their goal. And it brings me to the Tower of Babel. Makes you wonder what happened that humans come together and they're building this very long structure, and someone that called itself God or whatever looked at it and said, oh, they are talking to each other, let us disrupt that by creating different languages so they cannot talk to each other. That's like someone trying to disrupt unity. Now, isn't that interesting that anytime the humans come together, there's something that wants to break us apart? They either use religion or use tribe, and that's how you know where your power is. Our highest opportunity of discovering who we really are is when we're united. We find it even on social media, you find some group of people who argue amongst themselves about how certain things are not black culture, to the point that even Africans are being removed from what is called black culture. Now, isn't that interesting? How people just find any reason to be divisive. They just want to separate themselves. But meanwhile, our power comes when we are united. Now, isn't it possible, which it is possible, for us to focus more on the things that unite us, as opposed to amplifying the things that divide us? Instead of you, sometimes you see on social media people who are supporting perhaps a party that you do not support. Now, instead of being patient with them, we tend to want to respond with the same vowel response to use it. Perhaps someone says something rude to you, you don't have to respond in the same vibe that they are coming at you with. You have to learn to create space to see that there's something divine about everyone, and this is the attribute that comes with being connected to all that is. This is the attribute that comes from discovering your divinity. Like for me personally, I do not seek anything outside than what I already am. I do not measure myself with anything outside reality. I do not define myself by construct or social construct that already exists. Words like magnificence are the closest term to define what I am. I am not looking to accumulate material things. My greatest desire is to be one with all that is at every time. And this we shall achieve as we have and will continue to. You see, when you have someone who is connected to everything, their desires, their goals change to be one that supports everyone, supports the collective. But when you see someone who is just mired in this egotistic perspective of their own nature, where they feel they need to accumulate a lot of material things in order to be worthy or to be valuable, then you start seeing people become so myopic, primitive, perhaps. Because if you find someone that thinks like Homo habilis, even in Homo sapien biology, and they think the same way, believe the same way, they can only achieve the same result. So why do you have someone in modern present day reality sharing the same belief system as a primate? Isn't that interesting? How did they find the book that the primates was reading to be reading right now? And how does our current reality mimic what happened in the past that we're still using the past as a blueprint to how to navigate our present moment? Isn't that interesting? How we're looking at past events in old literature scripts to navigate the present moment when the literature script was written when there was no internet or hot showers, when there was no mobile phone. And now that it's time for us to introduce a new way to see ourselves, we find that a lot of people are pushing themselves away from it because they are not used to it. Just like our experience where we woke up and couldn't have negative thought and we thought something was wrong. And do you want to know what happened? Something happened. While we were thinking that, why can't I think of negative thought? I went to the fridge to try to open up a drink. It was so frozen, and when I popped it open, it splashed, and the stuff it looked weird at that moment. And gradually, my frequency that was so heightened to the point where I cannot think of anything negative, I was there in an experience where something not pleasant occurred. So you see how we can think ourselves into sickness, think ourselves into low consciousness, even when presented with an opportunity to elevate our consciousness, because we're not used to that state of being, we tend to find reason to pull us back down to where we're used to. Even when if where we're used to is not preferential, or even if where we're used to is something that doesn't support us. So it takes a lot of practice. And it's easier when you become aware of this. From our experience, no one told us Jack. We just had to go through this experience. Perhaps we're just like the first runner of, like, you know what, the universe is like, Trace, go ahead first, see how it feels, then, report back to the population. Now that's very interesting, because a few years ago, if those of you that don't believe in coincidence, why did the world shut down? And there was a new bill that was created, and the name of the bill was Contact Trace. Now, isn't that interesting? Perhaps the universe is finding means to communicate with the people, and the fact that the person that you call Trace has an information to share that's never been heard before and it's coming from personal experience. Personally, I don't see that as a coincidence. And those who do not, good news, congratulations. You just might be among the applicants or candidates to experience their divinity. Like we shared earlier on, there is a word or a phrase that you say frequently, and you meditate with that word, is going to awaken your higher consciousness or the higher faculties of your brain, open your frontal lobe, which is in charge of executive decisions. And we're not sharing that word because we do not want it to be perverted. However, once Africans start awakening, which is going to happen, and take over their government and reconstruct their social complex in their ecosystem, we'll start sharing that information with a few group of people, because things have to get back into our royal social system, not just this democratic system that actually encourages division in a way where you have to choose between one party or the other party. It doesn't really unify us, because once we're united, everyone will agree on one thing. So there will be no need to even vote. We all agree that this is what we need. And that thing will be someone that is not controlled or pursued by materialism. Someone that is able to do the job without even getting paid. Someone that's connected to something beyond the material realm. Someone that actually wants well for the ecosystem and our continent. Someone that is spiritually awakened. Someone that is intelligent. Someone that is creative. These are the properties or the values that we want to start seeing in the people who we give charge of being in control or authority over the continent or the realm. These are the people that you want to call your governors or your president or your chief priest, whatever word you want to call it. Your kings and your queens are people who are more connected to their divinity, their intelligence, infinite intelligence, not just academia, infinite intelligence where they can actually sense what's going to happen before it happens. This is actually fact. These are the values that we need to start paying attention to. And those who actually care about our best interests, not about those who've accumulated more material things. This is not how you used to judge who you give authority over the realm to. So these ideas need to start coming into the frontal awareness of each and everyone on this planet, starting with Africa. Like we said, Africa is going to become a superpower very soon and in our lifetime. You don't have to believe it, but just prepare for it, because it's coming and it's going to happen. And it's because of what we have done. We'll share more with you all, but in the meantime, as we're entering this new season, become open to the things that you do not expect. Question certain things that do not align with love and creativity. Pay more attention to intelligence and give more time to discover your own magnificence. The people accumulating more things will actually come to find that the ultimate satisfaction is outside materialism. And so you, as well, who have discovered this or who is discovering this, should start paying attention to how you can accumulate the non-local or the non-physical aspect of enrichment, of abundance, which is going to make way for the physical anyways. But it's important that everyone start paying more attention to what gives us value as humans, as opposed to what give other people value because of the accumulated more material things. It's going to be a very interesting few months, so prepare and be ready to expect the unexpected. I know that might sound like it doesn't make any sense, but that's the kind of frequency you should be on to start questioning perhaps some of all these things that while interpreting, maybe we're not interpreting it correctly. Start thinking in that way. Start questioning perhaps maybe there's something lost in translation, and if we can actually pay more attention to it in a different point of view, perhaps we'll learn something new. Maybe this person that doesn't agree with you doesn't necessarily hate you. They're just saying things from a different point of view. And maybe if you look from that angle, you will learn a thing or two and find out that both of you are actually compatible in ways that you never saw or thought of before if you did not pay closer attention. It's not everything that's happening that occurs to divide or to break you. Most of the things, in fact, all of it, because even bad things happen for good reasons, are just designed to awaken us more into our divinity. Everything, because you think something happened to break your heart, perhaps it's opening your heart, not breaking it. You think a shell or an egg breaks because it's broken. You're not thinking that perhaps it's being reborn, something is coming from within. So we need to start changing the way we're interpreting our reality, which gives you the more ultimate satisfaction. And as a piece of advice, whenever you're having negative thoughts in your mind, it's okay. Do not judge yourself for these things, but act only on the positive impulse that you get. In other words, when you're having negative thoughts, just wait it out. Don't act on it. But when you're having this positive inspiration, you're inspired, you just take action on it. That means you're aligning with what's in your best interest, following your excitement. That's the best way to get to discover more of what you are and experience this ecstatic explosion of our consciousness. So do not judge yourself for acting out of ignorance, or even if you act on your negative emotion, do not judge yourself for that. See that, change your interpretation to see it as a learning experience. You understand? Not as something to judge yourself for, oh, woe is me. No. Everything is unfolding as it ought to be, especially if you're here listening to this. You're blessed, remain blessed as we are. That's why we're sharing this with you. We feel so blessed, so abundant in multiple ways that we have no words to explain, and we just feel that there's a need to extend forth this abundance and this divinity as we're co-creating this reality together. So stand by, stand fast. It's going to be very interesting so far. We love you all. Namaste.